Hey, what's going on? Luke here, and the 2021 NRL season kicks off this week, so I thought it was about time I need to do my ladder predictions. I'm going to be doing some more proper predictions, but for this one, I'm going to be jumping on the tier list. Yes, I know the tier list, but we're going to be jumping on that, and we're going to be doing my 1 to 16. Take it with a grain of salt. There isn't too much thought put into it. I'm kind of just looking at the teams, going, are they good, are they not, and just chucking them on the list. Now, I'll be honest, I kind of have a feeling on where some teams are. I kind of have a set top 4, sort of top 5, at least a top 8 sort of thing. Wooden spoon, whatever, you can just swap some teams in and out. But at the same time, I do have an idea. So I'm not going in blind, but at the same time, I haven't got a set 1 to 16. So I'm just going to go with whatever I feel like. So let's jump on the phone. Let's take a look at the tier list. Alright, so on the tier list, you can see I've got it into 5 categories. I've got first, 2 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, and 13 to 16. So let's kick it off. Broncos, first team. Where am I going to put them? I might rearrange it when I get to the end as well. I should just point that out. I'm going to put them in the 13, 16 category. Haven't really recruited anybody. Got a brand new coach. Don't know how he's going to go. Look, he could be hit and miss. The Broncos could be hit and miss. Anthony Milford playing for a contract. A couple of players playing for a contract. But they got the wooden spoon last year and haven't really brought anyone in apart from a new coach who's untested at the NRL level. So see how they go. Next up, I'm going to do the Warriors. Obviously, New Zealand Warriors, but not going to be in New Zealand this year because the COVID stuff again. Last year, they handled it really, really well. This year, I'm not sure because it's got to take its toll eventually. And I think the squad that they have on paper wasn't the greatest last year. I think their squad is definitely better this year, but you think it's going to take its toll. All of the, not travelling because they're stuck in Australia, so less travelling, I guess, but just being away from families and stuff. I think that's probably a big reason why Tuivasa Shek's leaving too, just quietly. But look, I'm going to chuck them into the 9 to 12 section because I can see them actually being alright this year with the recruits that they got. Fanua Blake is a huge inclusion. Ewan Aiken, Murdoch Basila, they've actually recruited pretty well. And I think they've got a lockdown on their halves, Nikorima and Harris Tavita. Rather than constantly trying to find whether Chanel Harris Tavita is good enough and Blake Green's there and where do we want to play everybody, Nikorima off the bench, he's our hooker. I think they've got a set spine and I think they'll benefit greatly from it. So I'll chuck them in there. West Tigers, 9 to 12, I've got to chuck them in there just because it's funny. I'll chuck them in at 9th because every single year they end up 9th. It's just the West Tigers. I think they could have the best squad in the league and they'd probably still end up 9th. But in saying that though, they have looked pretty good in the trials, recruited pretty well, sort of under the radar pretty well. And I think finally getting rid of Benji, you got rid of Josh Reynolds, freed up a lot of cap space, and they'd already signed guys to replace him. You got your Adam Dewey's, Luke Brooks. They need to do something about Luke Brooks because I don't think he's the one. But they have signed him up long term, and he's a Tigers junior, so they're going to want to make it work, but I just can't see it working. But Adam Dewey in the halves, they just signed Dane Laurie for fullback. I think that's a good move. You got Moses Mbai somewhere. They've now got James Tamu, so they have a lot of decent players. It's just a matter of whether they can put it together for a whole season. But I'm going to chuck them in at 9th because I feel like they will go on a run. They just won't make the 8. Moving on to the Raiders, I'm actually going to chuck them in 2 to 4. It sounds weird considering they lost John Bateman. Probably not weird at all, actually. They still got Jack Whiten, best player in the league, according to the Dally M's. But George Williams, another year under his belt in the NRL. Even all the other English guys, another year. Harry Onara to replace John Bateman. Not a bad little replacement there. 2 to 4, I think it's pretty fitting for the Raiders considering where they've been in previous years. I think they're not far off a premiership if they keep playing how they have been. Just whether they actually convert that, who knows. But just in terms of their form, 2 to 4, I don't think that's a stretch. Next up, we're going to go with my Bulldogs. Where do I chuck them? I don't know. It depends how realistic I'm going to be. It depends if I'm going to be biased. I'm going to chuck them into the 9 to 12. Back end of the 9 to 12 as well. I really, really like the squad the Bulldogs putting together. I like Trent Barrett as a coach, at least so far. Didn't really like him at Manly. For being honest, he was just kind of meh. He had a pretty decent squad, had 1 good year, 2 shit years, or whatever it was. So it didn't really set the world on fire, but he's making all the right moves, saying all the right things at the moment. As a Bulldogs fan, pretty happy to have him there after the coaches we've had in the past. But yeah, the Bulldogs 9 to 12. I don't know, maybe 12. Like it's not a wooden spoon, but it's still not a really good result. We'll see if I need to chuck some other teams further down. It's definitely a big possibility. I might have them a little bit too high. I might not have them high enough at all. We'll see at the end of the season, but I'm just chucking them there for now. I can see the Panthers on the screen. I'm actually going to chuck them in the 2 to 4 category too. I might chuck them up into 2nd. Look, they pretty much explained itself. Penrith was so good last year. Haven't really lost too many players. Look, Mansell's gone, but they have Charlie Staines waiting, as well as probably 50,000 other wingers. They've got so many good backs at their club. They developed so many good players. So I don't think it's a big loss for them. Matt Burton's still there. I feel like they've lost James Tamu. They've lost James Tamu to the Tigers. But at the same time, they've got youngsters as well. So I feel like if anyone was going to leave, it was going to be James Tamu as to why they let him leave. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a downfall for Penrith. However, I don't see them winning a premiership or getting the minor premiership or anything. I think there is going to be definitely some slumps, especially if Origin mid-year again. So I think there will be some slumps, but I'm still going to chuck them in at second. Storm, I'm expecting them to fall a little bit. Cameron Smith, look, I don't think people are valuing Cameron Smith enough. They're all saying Harry Grant, yep, Storm are just going to hit the ground running. Harry Grant, obviously he's injured to start the season. Brandon Smith gets a chance. I do really rate both those players, but Cameron Smith is Cameron Smith. He's next level. When the game's on the line, yes, they got Munster and Pappenhausen, Jerome Hughes. They got a lot of good players, the Bromwich boys. But at the same time, Cameron Smith is there. And when he was there, it was like, oh, Cameron Smith will just calm it down. He knows exactly what to do. Now he's not going to be there. He's got youngsters who are in basically their second year of NRL. Brandon Smith hasn't even really played hooker at NRL level for the most part. But yeah, Harry Grant's only in his second year. And as good as he was, he's only in his second year. And when the back's against the wall, what's going to happen? I mean, he was playing for the Tigers, who weren't even a top 8 contender. And he only played for half the season. It's a long season. He's already got injured before the season starts. So who really knows what's going to happen? Maybe he's going to be injury prone. We all think he's going to have this real long career, but you never really know in the NRL. So just for that reason, I'm just going to put the Storm at 5 to 8 because they're kind of unknowns at this point. We know they won the premiership, we know they're good, but when you lose a player the caliber of Cameron Smith, that's not just your best player, probably the best player in the comp, probably the best player to maybe ever play the NRL. So it is a big loss. And honestly, it baffles me how people are downplaying this. But yeah, chuck them in at number 5. Got the Gold Coast Titans. I think they're in a 5 to 8 category. Had a good end to the season last year. But at the same time, the season was gone. It wasn't like they're going to make the 8. I've seen the Bulldogs do it for a couple of years. A lot of the teams, as soon as the pressure's off, they start playing. Especially when you got guys like Ash Taylor. Fogarty's pretty new to the NRL. A lot of those guys probably will thrive from not playing under pressure and just being able to play what's in front of them, not really care too much, but they have something building there at the Titans. You got Big Tino, you got Big David Fafita as well, probably some other names that I'm missing. Brian Kelly's another year older, you got Ash Taylor and Fogarty another year in the NRL, another year playing together, Brimson at the back. Unreal, they're just missing a hooker really. And who knows, maybe Cameron Smith's going to sign for them. You never know. But at this point, I'm going to chuck them into the 5 to 8 category, probably more the back end of the 5 to 8. I can also see them missing that 8 too. Because there's plenty of teams who sign a lot of big names and they think it's going to come together and it just doesn't quite. And there's still some pretty good teams in the NRL who probably won't even make the 8. So, look, it's not exactly a given, but I'm thinking 5 to 8. I think that's pretty fitting for them at the moment. Parramatta Eels, I'm going to chuck them in the same category. Look, Storm, Titans, Eels, I'm pretty happy with that 5 to 8. Eels, I can see them sliding down a little bit. But Dylan Brown another year in, Mitchell Moses, a little bit less responsibility, hopefully, and he can sort of just play what's in front of him as well. Because I feel like the pressure maybe gets to him. Maybe not gets to him, but when the pressure's on, he's definitely a guy who's like, give you the ball, but I don't think he necessarily thrives under that pressure. I mean, Dylan Brown, I think he's a big help, and I think at the start of the season last year, Dylan Brown was doing a lot, and then he got injured, I think, or Mitchell Moses got injured, and they came back, and the dynamics were all different. And this year, dynamics are going to be different again, because I think they've swapped sides at least. At least in the trials they did, because that was a big talking point. Pretty sure they got battered by Penrith in the trials too, but look, I wouldn't really go too much on the trials. But at the same time, their roster, I just look at it and it doesn't scream out to be top 4 or winning a premiership or anything. It just kind of looks to me like a 5 to 8 side. So that's exactly where I'm putting them, probably at the back end of the 8, similar to the Titans. But I think Titans have actually got a better squad overall, so I'm going to have them a little bit higher. We have Manly here. See if I can actually grab it. Yes, there we go. Manly. I'm going to chuck them in the 13 to 16 category. I think they're definitely a wooden spoon contender. Tom Torovic already injured to start the season. We already know he gets injured multiple times during the season. So the fact that they're starting the season without him, and it's already showing the flaws of the Manly squad. The fact that, you know, there's no Brandon Elliott now to come in. And the guys have actually got like the Ruben Garricks. I think there's talk of Morgan Harper starting the season at fullback. Dylan Walker. Look, I was a Bulldogs fan. Morgan Harper is at the club. He looked decent at centre, but that's always what I kind of remember him as a centre winger maybe, but mostly a centre. Don't really recall him playing fullback, so I'm not sure how that one's going to go. In the trials, apparently he looked sus. But for someone who doesn't really play fullback, playing fullback in the NRL, it's a big call. It's a big ask. I mean, you see specialist fullback struggling and actually playing fullback in the NRL, let alone a guy who has never really played it, barely even played NRL. Some would say not really up to NRL standard. I mean, for years, the guy was at the Bulldogs. Bulldogs were screaming out for centres and he still couldn't get a go. Went to Manly, looked alright, but then kind of fell off after a couple of games. So who knows what his career is going to end up like, but chucking him in at fullback, that's a big ask. And then the other option is apparently Dylan Walker. Don't like that. We've seen him play it at the Rabbitohs. I think he even played a little bit at Manly. And I just think Dylan Walker has regressed so much between injuries, off-field problems. just maybe not even that good. Maybe the Rabbitohs are able to cover him up because he was a guy who had a lot of speed, had some pretty good skill, but he just never kicked on. And I do think a lot of it is off-field issues. I think he gets into a lot of trouble off the field, which affects him on the field in terms of getting suspended. And then you add in injuries and stuff that you can't really control that well. Look, it hasn't been a good couple of years for Dylan Walker. Definitely has regressed a lot. I mean, this was a dude who was playing Origin not that long ago. Same with your Matty Merlins and all that. But they're guys who have fallen off really, really quickly. But yeah, Manly, I just can't see him having a great season. Des usually avoids the wooden spoon. Usually, I mean, every single time avoids the wooden spoon. Manly in general avoid the wooden spoon, but maybe this is the year. Because the Broncos used to avoid it every year, and last year, it was their year. So there's going to come a time where it's their year, and maybe this is it. Maybe it's time for Manly to win the wooden spoon. Another team that's in contention for the wooden spoon, though, is the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I think they are your favourites. Look, their squad isn't completely terrible. They do have some good players. I mean, they've got Ben Hunt, they've got not Corey Norman, but they do have some decent players. Form pack's not the best anymore. You lost Tyson Frizzell, big loss, losing Tyson Frizzell, but at the same time, they still have some guys who can win a game for them. You got your Zach Lomaxes and stuff. A lot of untapped potential at this point. Cody Ramsey, a lot of guys who, if they hit the ground running this season, could propel them higher up, but I don't know. I really don't know with the Dragons. I really don't like their coach. I don't think many people like their coach. Probably not even the players. But there's a lot of controversy with the Dragons. You got your Tristan Saylor stuff. The Bellon's still there. Just even the Corey Norman stuff. There's just always controversy at the Dragons. Someone's getting in trouble. Someone's getting suspended. And I think it takes a toll on the squad. And also their squad not being that good to start off with. I think it's got to say something. And the coach, I don't really rate him. McInnes is out for the season. Look, I think they are your favourites, and I think a lot of people will say they're the favourites. Now, moving on to number one, who do I think is going to be the premier? I think it's going to be the Rabbitohs. I'm kind of doing this willy-nilly. I'm going from first to last to second to fourth. I'm just going willy-nilly. But yeah, I just had to talk about the Rabbitohs. I keep seeing their logo, and it keeps coming to me like, I've got to talk about them. Really rate the squad. The actual squad that they've got in terms of age and experience, I feel like they're primed for a premiership run. Adam Reynolds will talk about it. He's sick of getting top four. He needs a premiership. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Well, actually, I don't know if that's exactly what they're going to do, but I think they're definitely going to be there and about. I mean, I feel like you could say that for every year for like the last 5 years. They're always up there and about somewhere, especially with Wayne Bennett there. They're there, and they're definitely a chance of winning, but they sort of get to the prelims. And last year, they came up against Penrith. I actually thought they probably should have won that one. Penrith weren't that good, but Rabbitohs just really fell off. I think they ran out of gas. But yeah, Penrith too good. They were too good for majority of the sides last year, except for the Storm, pretty much. But I think the fact that they still got the same squad, haven't really lost anyone, but have been able to add in Joy Arrow and also Josh Mansour, a lot of experience there, and some representative level players. I mean, Joy Arrow in particular. I mean, Mansour, he's on the downfall, let's be honest. There's a reason Penrith got rid of him. But he will bring a lot to the side. Even if he doesn't play, just him being in contention will keep the other wingers on their toes, because they've got a couple of young ones there. But yeah, I'm really liking their squad overall. I've got them in first. I'm pretty comfortable with that one. At least the Roosters. I do rate the Roosters squad. I'll chuck them there in the 2 to 4 category. So, look, I don't know. I'll go Roosters at number 4. I can see them getting top 4, but just the whole uncertainty over the halves, I'm not sure about. But we saw that last year, and they still looked fairly decent. And I think this year, they'll be a lot more hungry in terms of, they've just gone back-to-back. So, I mean, it was a miracle that they went back-to-back. Teams don't do that these days. So them doing a three-peat, it wasn't going to happen. Realistically, like last year, I picked them to do it, but looking back on it in hindsight, it was not going to happen. They're just too bad. But this year, I think they'll be a little bit more refreshed, more opportunities, more things to look forward to. So yeah, I'm going to put them into the 4th position, maybe contesting for the premiership later on. I can see them winning the premiership from 4th for sure. But yeah, there's that. I don't really want to talk about the Roosters too much because I feel like it's self-explanatory. They've been there, they've been around for a long time, haven't really lost too many players apart from Cooper Cronk, really. They've tried a couple guys. Kyle Flanagan obviously didn't work out at the Bulldogs now, but Lachlan Lamb stepping up. You got Sam Walker there waiting in the wings too. I think he'll probably get a chance this season. And Luke Keary is going to take a bigger role as well, moving to halfback. So I think they're in for a good season, the Roosters. I'm thinking 2 to 4, but I mean, I wouldn't also be surprised if they fell down a little bit, but I mean, they've got a good coach, good squad, 2 to 4 seems fitting. Alright, this is where it gets interesting. Where do I chuck these other sides? Because these other sides aren't terrible, but they're not great. The Knights, I think, have a pretty good squad, but you just don't know with them because despite the squad being good, the coach, I'm sort of not sold on him. They've got guys like Jaden Brayley who just come off a big injury in a big position. Coming back, Kalen Ponga's already injured. Starting to get a little bit injury-prone, Kalen Ponga. Seems to be injured quite a lot. But I'm going to chuck him into the 5 to 8 category, which means I'm going to chuck the Sharks into... I'm going to chuck them in the 13-16 category. I don't really rate their squad this year. A little bit hit and miss. They've got some good players, but can never stay on the field. And I'm going to chuck the Cowboys into the 5 to 8, which is probably controversial, but the Cowboys squad I think is a lot better than what they actually perform at. The level they perform at is way under. And every year we keep saying, oh, they should be a squad that's pushing for a top 4. Instead, they end up going for a bottom 4. But with guys like Tamalalo, Michael Morgan's back, Drinkwater's still there. A new coach and a pretty good coach at that one in Todd Payton by the seams of things. I can see them having a good year. Whereas the Sharks, they're kind of just the same. They haven't really recruited anybody, and the guys that they've got are all busted. In saying that though, they probably are playing for a contract, but yeah, that's my 1 to 16. I don't know how confident I am in it, but that's what I've gone for. And then guys, leave in the comment section below, who's your 1 to 16? What are your ladder predictions? Those are mine's a bit of a rough one, but yeah, I want to know what yours are. Also, after you've done that, make sure you go ahead and leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, turn on the notification bell. It is super important that you do so. It just lets you be notified immediately that I've uploaded. Don't have to wait in the sub boxes. You all know the sub boxes are dodgy. Also, you gotta go ahead and give me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT for the most part. It's Mr. Luke just for Facebook. So go ahead, give me a follow, give me a like, do all that sort of stuff. And I can't wait. The NRL season is about to start. Stay tuned for more content on the channel because I'm going to be posting a fair bit. So yeah, with that, that's where I'm going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.